Most electricians that I know are working their butts off. They're busy every day, booked solid, and the phone doesn't stop ringing. But at the end of the month, there's barely anything left in the bank. And if that sounds familiar, you're not alone, man. The truth is, most electricians aren't struggling because they're bad at what they do. They're struggling because they're undercharging for what they're worth. They don't think they can charge that much, or they haven't done the math to figure it out. And I've been there. When I first started my business, I was taking on every job that I could get. I thought if I just worked harder, I'd make more money. But it didn't work that way. No matter how many hours I put in, money never seemed to catch up. What I didn't realize was that I was charging like an employee, not a business owner. And I could tell because I was stuck on the tools. I hadn't done the work to actually figure out what I need to charge. And that's the trap most electricians fall into. So let's talk a little bit about why. The first and most common reason is fear. A lot of guys know that they should raise their prices, but they're scared to lose work. They think, if I charge more, customers will hire someone else. I won't get jobs. I'll get blasted online. But here's the thing. People don't buy cheap electrical work because it's cheap. They buy from whoever they trust the most. And here's the key. When you actually believe your pricing is fair, your customers will too. The second reason is most guys never actually did the math. They picked a number that felt right or copied whatever the guy down the street was doing. But that guy's undercharging too. And you can see it if you look around. The majority of electrical businesses are all the same. Small, crappy vans, no uniforms, no training, and the owners definitely are driving Lambos. And the third reason is simple. They don't understand what it really costs to run a business. They look at the hourly rate and think, I made $800 today. That's pretty good. But they forget about the fuel, the insurance, tool wear, and losing stuff in attics, travel time, downtime, callbacks, admin hours, quoting, which is all the stuff we don't actually get paid for. And here's the reality check. If you're charging $100 an hour, but only billing 4 hours a day after driving around and quoting, you're making $400 total for the day. But you take out expenses, the time you spend not billing, and you're maybe making $130. Then that's not enough to grow a business. Think about how long it'll take to save up enough money to hire that next guy or buy a van or even just get the next tool that you need. Money like that is just surviving. And you probably know that already. And this is the reason why so many electricians feel like they're running on a hamster wheel. They're working full time, but only getting paid part of the time. And it's not because they're lazy. It's because they're underpriced. So how do you fix it? It starts with getting real with your numbers. You need to figure out what it actually costs to run your business. And that means knowing your overhead, your labor burden, your vehicle costs, your efficiency rate, your marketing costs, all of it. And once you know your real cost per hour, you can finally build prices that make sense. Here's how to figure it out. First, we're going to go to this website here, electricianacademy.co/tools. There will be a link in the bio for that. And then we're going to scroll down to the efficiency rate calculator. This is the first step in figuring out how much to charge as an electrician. Click on calculate now. And then we're going to go through the efficiency rate calculator. There's a video here on how to use it, but briefly, you just put in how many hours a day your business is open, how many days a week your business is open, how many weeks a year your business is open. Don't forget weeks that you're closed, like maybe around Christmas or something, take that off of there. And then you're going to go into the most important part, which is already predefined for you. You just have to put in the values. So you just go down step by step and imagine one journeyman in a van doing these tasks throughout the week. We know some things happen multiple times a day, some things happen every day, some things happen once a week, and we can go through all of that in here. So very briefly, we can figure out how much time we spend picking up materials from suppliers. Maybe that takes us half an hour once a day, right? And then we can go down the rest. We refill the van. That one takes us half an hour once a week. Go down this list and imagine what your normal work week, work year on average is. Put all those values in there. And by the time we get to the bottom of this sheet, it'll only take you a couple minutes, you can figure out the most overlooked number in figuring out our billable hourly rate, which is the efficiency rate. Next, we're going to go back to the tools page and we're going to go to the billable hourly rate calculator. click calculate now. The reason why we did the efficiency rate first was we used that to calculate our billable hourly rate. So we're going to put in what we're going to pay that guy in the van that we are imagining driving around. We're going to put in our labor burden percentage. That's how much on top of our hourly rate that we pay. We have to pay in taxes and stuff like that. Usually most places are kind of around 20 to 21%. So we could put that in there. It's right in here. And then the efficiency rate we determined in the last step. We put that right here. And finally, the profit margin. Now, a little pro tip here is profit margin in service work. You might have heard a lot, 30% profit margin. That's way too low in service work for electrical. We have to spend a lot of money on marketing when we're trying to grow and stay busy and avoid those low times. And the calls we get are usually small calls, especially for service. Placing a circuit breaker or adding a circuit, they can be small jobs. There can be big ones in there too. But they're small jobs and we have to charge a much higher profit margin than you would think. Anyway, so once we plug all those values in, you're going to calculate what your true hourly rate is per hour. And here's the most important part. You've done all the math. Now you have to go out and actually charge this, and you have to stick to it. This is where most guys fail, honestly. They figure this out and then they get scared. They don't want to go charge that much. They're too scared. But this is facts. You need to go figure out how to charge this. And you'll probably lose a few cheap customers, but you'll gain the right ones. The ones who value your professionalism and the company that you're trying to grow. Confidence in your pricing builds trust. And when people trust you, sales gets easy. I remember the first time I quoted a job with this new rate, I almost choked with the number. I was sitting in my van freaking out. But when I presented the quote, the customer didn't even blink. They said, okay, when can you start? And that's when it hit me. I've been holding myself back this whole time because I've been scared of charging this much. And you can see it also in price book reviews from guys who plug in this pricing, charge way more than they think they could, and people just happily say yes. But this isn't about just charging more to make more. It's about building a business that pays you properly for the work you're already doing. When you charge right, you can pay your team better. You can buy better materials. You can stop stressing about the slow week. You can buy that next van, hire that next guy, get the admin to help you with calls because you hate taking calls and doing permits. All that happens from charging enough per hour. Now, I know what you're thinking. Doing all that math sounds like a lot of work. And yeah, it can be. You can do it manually, it is possible, or there's an easier option. And that's why I built Pricebook. It does all the heavy lifting for you. You plug in your numbers and it builds a pricing system that fits your business perfectly. So you're not just guessing anymore. You're charging confidently, knowing every number makes sense. And if you're tired of being busy and not making any money, go grab Pricebook or use the tools that I showed you to calculate your hourly rate properly yourself. It's the first step in running your business like a real business, not just a job you own. You've already mastered the hard part, your trade. Now it's time to master the pricing. And once you fix that, everything else gets better. So stop guessing, know your worth, and start charging like a professional.